Hello, my name is Jim Hummer from Solver, and today we're going to be looking at Dynamics AX, in this case R2, and how to do customizations. So within BI360 you have the ability to do customizations in the admin tool. So if you go into integration management, you have integration customizations. So if you open that, you should see your connection to your database, and it should have basically a series of menus. One of the things you have to decide early on is basically what a fact set and dimension is. Basically, a fact set is transactional data, and dimension is master data. And you use dimensions for lookups. You need fact sets for reporting. So in this case, we're going to add a fact set first. And you see there's always ones in here, but we're going to add a new one. And some people have different schema. For the most part, you're going to see DBO. I've seen some different ones, but usually not. And I'm going to look for custrans. So you have to have some data schema knowledge if you do this. If not, you can get help with your IT people, and they can help you with that. There's also a lot of information online, but you should be able to find your just basic tables. So this process I'm doing to start with works with just the basic tables. So there's our cust and cust aging, cust line, and cust bill. As you see, there is a huge amount of tables in Dynamics AX. Okay, and then we have cust shipping, cust packing. We're getting close. Cust table, cust trans. Okay, so we're going to click on that. See, it already exists, so I'm going to call this cust trans 2. And display name would be customer transactions 2. So this is what basically the users will see in the default display name. Alright, I'm going to click next, and it's going to bring in all the fields in conjunction with that table. So if I want these to be different, I can go ahead and type in what these are right here. If I don't want them to be visible, I have the option to say optional or never. And I also can change a drill down order. Normally you're not going to do a drill down order on something like custrans. Normally that's like in a general ledger, but we could cover that on a different lesson. And basically that's it. If you want to just uncheck boxes, you can do that too. Normally you're going to use a visibility type report. We're going to go next. We're going to add a link. So here's where you can basically link. So it's a little bit backwards. You do your transactions first, and then you go to your dimensions. So your dimensions have to be built already. So here we see we have our customer trans, but there's a cust table. That's the customer table. You see it automatically finds a primary key and does the linking. And if we go next, it basically then asks us to associate that with a receivables table. So if we click on customer and accounts receivable, and we go finish, and then that completes our customization. So I'm going to do another customization. So I went and wrote a little bit of a SQL statement here, and I put it into a view. For the most part, if you're going to be doing a lot of customization, especially with Dynamics AX, you're going to be using a lot of views because there's a lot of tables, there's a lot of cross-query type things. So you have to have some expertise in how to do this. It's not really that hard. You can find examples on the internet and with your IT statement, but basically I created a little view like this, and this is going to give me some aggregation of the voucher and the trans. Okay. So I'm going to execute this and create this. Oh, it already exists. So now I can go back to my integration, and I'm going to add another fact set. And I'm going to include views. And this is going to have the views that I just created. So some bigger installations, they too take a little longer to find some of these. So, but they do work. Okay, we're looking at BI360. No, and there it is right there. Okay, we'll call it BI360 trans. We click next, and notice we only bring up 3 fields. Okay, and then we're going to do a next, and then we're going to link this again to our customer. Okay, and then that's going to create this. And then we're going to add this to our receivables table and finish. I'm going to do one more thing here, kind of explain another concept. So here, if we edit the fact set, you can also determine the grouping and whether these are groups or measures. So here, it's like it automatically is going to sense whether it's a measure or not, or a number. There might be times, like on a rate, you don't want this to be a measure, you want this to be a group because you don't want it to aggregate. So you can customize some of your data that way if you want. So that's another part that I didn't cover before, so I'm just adding that. And I'm going to click Done. And I'm going to minimize this. And now I'm going to go into my composer and see if I can see my data. Okay, so there's my integration. And this is loading, so you do have to reload once you add your integrations. They just don't appear. So if you have your composer or your report designer open when you do this, they will not see these integrations. You have to close everything down and then add them. Okay, so I'm gonna actually change my company here and go to CEU. I'm going to click on my receivables. And that's just loading here for a second. And loading into my receivables. And you can see, I can see my BI360 custrans. And I can see my customers too. So let's see what that data looks like. And you see there's my link right there, which I did. And I can bring in my voucher, and I can bring in my amount. So one thing you're going to see is that when I did this, I had what's called my data area ID in my meta. So automatically it puts a filter in for that. So now I'm logged into CEU. And so it's only going to look at CEU for that customization that I did. So if I brought in my database, it would only bring in CEU. So if I look at a new and I bring into my BI360, because I did not have my data area ID in my data, it's going to bring in everything throughout my whole database. So sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. You have to really know your data schema and how that works. You can see like I don't have any customers here. and some I don't. Because I have some databases, some databases with SIDA AX, Dynamics AX that are basically virtual. So they will not show in here because I don't have a virtual company set up. So I'd have to go to that virtual company to see that data. So that's a little bit of differences on that. That gives you a brief overline on how to add customizations into Dynamics AX 2012 R2. Thank you.